The Liberals will have a very short runway to get their next candidate off the ground, but what could their leadership race look like?
Big question. So joining us over Zoom right now is Lori Turnbull, a political analyst and professor at Dalhousie University. Thank you so much for joining us, Lori.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to begin here. Pierre Poilievre, official opposition, they have released a statement basically saying what has really changed. OK, so now we've seen Justin Trudeau saying he's going to step aside, but then continues to go on about the Liberal agenda and what the party is going to do. So in your opinion, what has really changed, or what could potentially really change?
OK, so I think I totally understand why Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are doing this. They have been running against Justin Trudeau for years, and they want to do that. This has been, this has been the focus for them for the next election. But now what's going to change is the leader. And it's going to be difficult, I think, for whoever whoever becomes the leader, to totally distance themselves from Trudeau, from the legacy, particularly if that person is a Trudeau cabinet minister now. But we don't know that. At this point, I think we have more questions than answers.
Now, this resignation is coming just 3 weeks after former Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland announced her resignation, and that sent the government into an even deeper tailspin. Do you think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, even though it does feel like we were reaching this day, we were coming to this day?
Yes, I agree. I agree that this seems kind of like a long time coming, but it also, I think, very much the air shifted when Chrystia Freeland decided to resign, because I think as much as the caucus was trying, at least some of the caucus was trying to push Trudeau out, it's hard to do that when there's nobody else that is putting their hand up to actually run against him, right? Like if there's no one who's organizing, if there's no sense of who will the next leader be, if nobody's really testing that water, it's hard to push the current leader out, especially when there's no formal mechanism to do it. But once she did, it was almost like the balloon popped. That was it. And there was more of an organization around trying to push Trudeau out.
Lori, whether or not people were a fan of Trudeau, he'd spent nearly a decade as the Canadian Prime Minister. That is huge. So how do you think Canadians will remember him? When you look at the history books, what will his legacy be?
Well, I mean, I think he will always be the COVID Prime Minister. He's going to be, he'll go down in the history books as the person who was running the country at the time of a global pandemic. I think the Trudeau government will be remembered for how they handled that. But at the same time, I think he will be seen as somebody who came in at a time when the Liberal Party was at their lowest. He remade it in his own image into an electoral machine that won 184 seats in 2015. But then after that, it seemed like the shine kind of kept coming off. He will, I think, be remembered for things like the $10 a day daycare, pensions, changing the child benefit, that sort of thing. But he'll also be remembered for, not being able to get a second majority government, for his own brand being the reason that he was pushed aside and becoming almost a liability to the party when he had been its savior 10 years ago.
Well, this conversation is far from over. We will continue to follow this story throughout the day. Lori Turnbull with Dalhousie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, too. Thanks for having me.